Ready, Freddy. The King of Show and Tell. By Abby Kline. Illustrated by John McKinley. Chapter 1. An Alligator Head. Okay, everyone, come to the rug. It's time for show and tell, said Mrs. Whooshy. Today's sharers are Chloe and Robbie. Who would like to go first? I will, said Robbie, jumping up and running to his cubby to get his treasure. Robbie was like the king of show and tell. The kids couldn't wait to see what he brought because he always had something really cool, like a porcupine quill or a 60-million-year-old dinosaur fossil. Today he had a real alligator head. This is a real alligator head, Robbie announced as oohs and ahs filled the whole room. So who cares about a dumb old dead animal head? I mumbled to myself. You know it's an alligator head because it has a rounded snout. Alligators have rounded snouts, and crocodiles have pointed ones. More oohs and ahs. Alligators are reptiles, so they are cold-blooded, which means they like to live in warm places. This one lived in a swamp in Florida. Questions or comments? When someone was done sharing, they could pick 3 people in the class to ask a question or make a comment. Whenever Robbie shared, everybody's hand went up, and the kids all shouted, "Pick me! Pick me!" He's not going to call on anyone who's yelling out, said Mrs. Whooshy. He's only looking for quiet people. I turned to Jessie and whispered, Boy, the way people are acting, you'd think they'd never seen an alligator before. I still didn't know what was so great about it. You can see a real, live alligator at the zoo, which is way better than some stupid dead head. You're just jealous, she whispered back. I think it's really cool. I wish I had an alligator head like that. Just then Robbie called on Jessie. I think it's really cool. Who gave it to you? My mom did. Robbie looked around. Chloe. My grandma has an alligator purse. Ha, 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 she's like the song The Lady with the Alligator Purse, Max said, laughing hysterically. She is not, Chloe snapped. And for your information, she continued with her hands on her hips, that purse is very rare. My grandma has traveled all over the world, and she got that purse in Brazil. It's really special because you can't get one like it anymore. Yes, said Mrs. Whooshy. Many years ago, people used to make belts, shoes, and purses out of alligator skin, and they would kill the alligators just for their skin. The alligators became an endangered species, so now it is against the law to use their skin that way. Now they're protected, and you could go to jail for selling things made from an alligator. Your grandma's going to jail, said Max. She is not, cried Chloe, pointing a painted red fingernail in Max's face. Max leaned over and bit Chloe's finger like a dog. Help! Help! I'm going to get rabies! Chloe screamed, shaking her finger all around in the air. Okay, you two. Enough, said Mrs. Whooshy. Max, you go sit in that chair, and Chloe, you go wash off your finger. Your grandma is not going to jail. I'm sure she got it many years ago when it wasn't against the law. Exactly, said Chloe as she bounced off to the sink to wash her finger. Robbie, you get to call on one more person, said Mrs. Whooshy. I shot my arm up. Maybe if I knew where he got it, I could beg my mom to go there and get me something really cool for my next sharing. Freddy. Where'd your mom get it? My mom got it for me last week when she went on a business trip to New York, Robbie said, shoving the alligator head in my face. You know, she's a paleontologist. The Museum of Natural History needed her to identify some dinosaur bones while she was there. One of the scientists gave her this alligator head as a special present for me. New York. I grumbled under my breath. So much for that idea. Thank you, Robbie, said Mrs. Whooshy, smiling. You always bring such interesting things for show and tell. Okay, Chloe, it's your turn. Do you need to get anything out of your cubby? No, Mrs. Whooshy. I have it right here in this bag, Chloe said as she sat down in front of the class and crossed her legs like some fancy lady. She pulled a package out of the bag and carefully unwrapped a pair of pink ballet slippers with satin ribbons. These are my new ballet slippers my grandma got for me in France. They cost 300 francs and only special ballerinas get to wear them. Whoop-de-doo, I whispered. Those are lame. Max yelled out. Max, that is rude, said Mrs. Whooshy. If you don't have anything nice to say, please keep your mouth shut. Besides, Chloe continued, I'm not done yet. As I was saying, you can't get these in just any old store. My grandma brought them all the way from France. They have real satin ribbons, and they are the kind the prima ballerinas wear. Now I'm ready for questions or comments. And a lot of kids raised their hands. She called on Jessie first. Jessie. You are so lucky to have such a rich grandma. I know, Chloe said, smiling. She called on me next. Freddy. What's a franc? Oh, that's what they call the money in France. I get to call on one more person. Robbie. Why was your grandma in France? For a vacation. She has another house there. It is a really, really big castle like in a fairy tale. Well, thank you, Chloe, said Mrs. Whooshy. The slippers are very beautiful. Now let's see who Monday's sharers are. Freddy and Jessie, it will be your turn on Monday. Great. I didn't have anything good to bring in. I had already shared everything from my shark collection. Nothing I ever brought in would be as cool as all the stuff Robbie and Chloe brought in. Nothing. Chapter 2. For the birds. After school, Robbie and I got on the bus. He was coming over to my house to play. Hey, watch where you're sitting. You almost sat on my head. What are you talking about? Your head's up there, and my butt's going down here, I said, pointing to the seat. My alligator head. It's in that bag, and you're about to sit on it. Ugh. That dumb head. Sorry, I said as I moved the bag to the side. You know, Robbie, you're so lucky your mom brings you all those cool things when she goes to New York for her job. Yeah, I know. I wish I had something really cool to bring in for sharing. Hey, what do you think we should do when we get to your house? Robbie asked, changing the subject. I don't know. Hey, let's go up to your tree house and check on the birds, Robbie said. What birds? Jessie asked. Oh, there's this family of birds that built a nest in a branch right outside my tree house, I said. There's a mom and 3 babies. How cute. Yeah, the mom always brings the babies worms to eat, and we peek out the window and watch her feed them. Ew, gross. Worms are so slimy, said Chloe, wrinkling up her nose. I would never want to be that close to something that lived in the dirt. They're not slimy, said Jessie. I love to play with them. I even ate one when I was a baby. Did it crawl around in your stomach? Asked Max. Stop it! Stop it, yelled Chloe with her hands over her mouth. You ate worms. I think I'm going to be sick. She leaned over toward Max. Great, I thought. throw up right in his lap. I can't wait to see this. Hey, don't toss your cookies on me, said Max, squishing his body up against the window. You people are disgusting, said Chloe. She got up and ran to find a seat somewhere in the back of the bus. Good. Now I have the seat all to myself, said Max, stretching out. Hey, guys, can I come see the birds? The thought of Max Sellers, the biggest bully in the whole first grade, coming to my house was enough to make me sick. All I could think of was that punch he had given me right in the gut once before. That was something I never wanted to experience firsthand again. I had to think fast. I don't think so. My mom doesn't like me to have too many kids over at a time. But I thought it was just going to be you and Robbie. Yeah, it is, but my sister has a friend coming, too. So? So maybe some other time. Like that will ever happen, I thought to myself. That kid was so mean, it was bad enough he teased me all day at school. I wasn't about to invite him to my house. Besides, I could just imagine him wanting to pick up one of the birds and squeezing it to death. Luckily, just then the bus stopped in front of my house. Well, gotta go. Here's my stop. Come on, Robbie. When we got off, Robbie grabbed me by the arm. Hey, did you mean it? Mean what? That you'd have Max Sellers over to your house sometime? What? Are you crazy? Come on. Let's go check on the birds. Chapter 3. Oh no! Robbie and I dropped our backpacks off in my room and raced outside. We climbed up the ladder to my tree house and looked out the window. Oh no! I cried. What? The nest is empty. What? Said Robbie, pushing me to the side. How can that be? Those babies weren't old enough to fly. I guess they were. What a bummer. I was having fun watching them. Just then I got a sick feeling in my stomach. You don't think the neighbor's cat got them? I asked Robbie. I sure hope not. We'd better do some investigating and find out. Robbie always wanted to do a little investigating. He pulled his magnifying glass out of his pocket and climbed down the ladder. What are you looking for? I asked as I followed him down. Clues. What kind of clues? Cat and bird clues, Robbie said with his nose to the ground. Like what? Hello. Like maybe feathers and some bones. Yuck. I said. Well, you didn't think the cat and the bird were going to play together, did ya? I was about to answer when I saw it lying there on the ground. In fact, I almost stepped on it. Robbie, look! Chapter 4.